Morning, folks. Today's soap is from Clubman Pinaud. This is a 2-ounce variety, and it's fairly soft, but it's firm inside the container there. But it's a fairly soft soap, easy to scrape out. Press down in a bowl when you're bowl lathering. As it goes for this scent, per my nose, I don't know for sure which one of these it goes with, but I hear tell that it's the classic vanilla, so that's what I went with in the aftershave. Got the alum block here, still with no brush for me, and I've got just a little bit left of the unscented witch hazel that's mentholated. You can kind of see there, it's right down towards the bottom there. Still got a little bit left, and yep, there's the aftershave I'm going to be following up with. And off camera I'll be using the Shaven Sailor beard oil, and the blade of choice today is going to be the excuse me, Treet Falcon, and it comes double wrapped. Got it whipped up here with the Green Ray brush. Whipped it up on the wet side of things. It's not quite, it's close to being yogurt-like. It's still a little bit on the wet side, I would say. Got it whipped up in a small bowl here. It's got grooves in the bottom there. And this, like I say, this bowl is pretty small compared to what I'm usually using, so I guess you might say extra care to keep it from lather going everywhere. Shaver of choice today is going to be the Edwin Jagger DE89. This one here has just a slight overhang. This one here is labeled, it's got Edwin Jagger here, then it says Sheffield, England here. I like this, pretty cool. This is a smooth chrome handle. There's no lines, no knurling, nothing of the sort. I like it like that. Looks cool. All bright and shiny. It's just one that I like. I've already put a hot towel to the face this morning. And going back to the Clubman soap there, I'll have a link down below to a website. The website there is a barbershop website, and the way I remember it when this soap first came out, I think it was like $6.95 for a 2-ounce container, and nowadays at Atlanta Barber, at least at that particular website, and I'm sure there's probably some more, selling it at $2.95. So $2.95 for 2 ounces of soap. It's a pretty good buy. Like I said, it is pretty soft, easy to scrape out, press down in a bowl. But if you're liking to lather out of the container, load the brush out of the container, it is a small container, so it's going to be quite messy going that route. Quite a challenge. Probably would want, if you're doing something like that, maybe using a brush with a smaller knot. I think Green Ray is even a bit big. I would go with something closer to 22 or 20, something smaller, which means you're going to be pretty well limited on what brush you're going to use. The trend nowadays is to, I guess you might say, to just go bigger. Alright, here we go. Hopefully I don't get this everywhere. It is about, it's getting kind of close to being about that time to break out the scuttles. I have two. Both of them are from Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements Crown King labeled on the side. And one of them's white and one of them's black. And if you're fortunate enough to catch the seconds, I think they're like $13.95, something like that. Not real expensive. And he's got a couple of new ones. One of recent history is a different shape. It's a bigger one, which, I guess you might say, kind of piqued my interest with it being bigger. I like something that's bigger, deeper, wider at the top. Better chance of keeping all your lather inside. At least for me it is. You can kind of tell shaving, shaving soap worked up alright. The shaving cream, I have yet to try it. It is on my list to try. I guess, you know, there's mixed results on both of them. I think some folks were disappointed when it first came out because they were expecting it to, the scent to match the Clubman as opposed to the classic vanilla. And for my nose, if you go by nose, the scent of the soap doesn't match either one of the aftershaves, but a lot of times that doesn't matter to me anyway. Blades are working pretty well with this shaver. I was thinking about going with a derby blade to begin with, but this was the first one that came up on the pile. I say this is the first one. Actually, this was the second one. The first one was a Treet, sometimes referred to as a Black Beauty, because in other words it's black or a dark blue in color. And when I opened up the package, the shape of the blade looked a little different. So I was thinking maybe it was my eyes. Maybe I need to blink a few times, get it back away from me, see if it see if it looks different then. Maybe I've got it too close. So I set it back, you know, took a look at it, and it still didn't look quite right. Just you know how, because there's such a contrast on the edge with it being silver, then the rest of it's black, it didn't look right to me. So I have a loop that's it's just a 10 power, but you know, it helps me out quite a bit on stuff like this. So I grabbed it and got to looking at that edge, and on one end it was tapered off quite a bit, and the bevel didn't look quite right on that end. And thinking, well, this is the first time I've seen this on a blade like this. Now I've seen where the edge all the way across didn't look quite right, but not necessarily on one particular end. So needless to say, I didn't use it. It got retired right then and there. And the next one that popped up was this one here. Like I say, it's kind of rare for me to come across a blade that's quite like that. Found some that, you know, maybe the edge wasn't quite up to snuff. You can kind of tell that it didn't look quite right. In other words, when you're looking at it and how the light will hit the edge and it'll have a consistent look all the way across, and when it doesn't have a consistent look all the way across, and it's not because it's got wax on the edge, I get a little leery of using blades that are like that, because if the bevel and the edge is set consistently all the way across, it'll look the same way all the way across. It still might be a dud, but at least it's consistent all the way across. It's kind of, I guess you might say, my quality control check of the blade. That's the only one I've had of a Treet blade that's been like that. This is a pretty nice shaver. Edwin Jagger DE89 was one of my first razors that I got. My very first one of them was from Parker, and the other one was from Classic Shaving with the stubby handle. But not too long after that, I got me a Edwin Jagger, and it was it's one of those things. For me, when I was looking at it, when you look at this fit and finish, I mean, it is a good-looking shaver. I mean, it really is. I'll put a link down below There is a website that's UK based where these shavers, you can get an Edwin Jagger for right around the $25 mark. That's a pretty good buy. Depending on what kind of handle you want, you know, the price varies. And the handles are different, not only in the fact of whether they have lines or if it's knurled, but also the this one here at the end, at the very end, you'll find that some are different than this one here. I have to say though, for the soap performs just fine. And I can smell it. It's not an overpowering scent, in other words overpowering in the way of Arco. I don't think the scent is, it's a pleasant scent. I don't find it to be offensive at all. But the scent strength, I would say 5, maybe a 6, because I don't always smell it. And as long as I've had this soap, it's always been that way, so I'm kind of thinking that is probably pretty close to being what the scent strength is. It's not real strong, but it is present, and it stays present throughout the shave, so that makes a difference. Might be something look forward to getting into, especially if you got something that's you got just a small space to store all your stuff. A 2-ounce container might be pretty nice to have, and with the fact that it's inexpensive. Now, if you're one of those folks, which I know and understand, because to a degree I am, but on the other hand I'm not. This is a fingerprint magnet. It attracts fingerprints in a hurry. So you might want to look for one that's got knurling on it, or perhaps one that's got lines, if it really bothers you to have fingerprints on it. It is considered to be a mild shaver, which I understand. I agree with it. Even though I do get a certain amount of feedback, which is not always indicative of what kind of shave you're getting. But if you have sensitive skin, this might be a good one to go to. And but if you're looking for a BBS, quick BBS at that, I should say, you might want to look for a different shaver, because it will take in other words, it will take a little bit more work to get that BBS. This is, in my opinion, shaver for the smooth and comfortable type folks like me. Because for me, I don't look for a BBS, I just look for something that's smooth and comfortable, and this one here definitely does the job. Wow, and the soap, I'd have to say this soap it feels creamy. It's a different kind of creamy, if you will. In other words, if you had different categories, it's not the creamiest of cream by any means, but it definitely feels that way. Feels nice on the face. And in other words, when you're rinsing and you run your hands across the soap, the slickness is there, and it still feels creamy. So, in other words, your post-shave feel should feel pretty decent. I got one laid out right now, and I want to revisit it. And it might be next week. Might be the week of Thanksgiving. I might be when I finally get to it, because I've got things lined up for for the shaves for this up and coming week. That last time I used it, I felt like it left my face pretty dry, and I wanted to revisit it. after I let it set for a moment, and it's been a while since I've used it, that perhaps maybe I'd have a different experience with it. Maybe the first time I didn't have things quite like I normally do, maybe. Because the way I remember it when I used it, it's Wilkinson Sword. And that soap there, and the way I remember it, that soap did feel like it left me a little on the dry side. Wasn't the best of post-shave feels. But it's, you know, it's a hard soap. It's a fairly decent sized tub. It's going to last you a good long moment. It gets the job done. But when you start comparing the inexpensive soaps to each other, in my opinion, for instance, here locally, you just walk into one of our local grocery stores, and you can pick up a puck of Williams for like $1.29. And for me to get Wilkinson Sword here, it's somewhat more expensive. In other words, that's not necessarily a local type soap that I can just walk into a store and get. You have to order it online, and usually by the time you order it, the shipping, and even if it is free shipping, you know, you're still looking at quite a bit more than $1.29. So in other words, when you compare the budget soaps, even this one here is a much nicer soap, in my opinion, compared to the Wilkinson Sword of my memory of then. And it's been a moment since I used it, so I'm going to revisit it and make sure that, you know, I had things right in my head, and maybe something was just a little bit off my preparation that day. Maybe it was right at spot on, and maybe it does leave my face pretty dry. I wanted to revisit it and give it another shot before I guess you might say gave it my final stamp of perhaps not the best in the world. Now, I don't have the Wilkinson Sword and blue stick. I don't have one of those. One of these days I will get around to getting one of them. And maybe the base of the soap is different with the blue as opposed to the white. Because that's what's in this tub is white. It's not blue. Face feels great. It's a good shave, most definitely. Definitely, it's like one of those kind of shavers you can shave with all week. When I first got my Edwin Jagger, I was really happy with it. Thought it was an awesome shaver. Like I say, it's just got a very slight overhang. For most folks, I don't think that's going to be an issue if you're shaving up underneath your nose. But my shave felt really good. Easy, find the angle, gentle pressure, all the normal techniques, works just fine. Treet Falcon, for me, that blade is very comparable to Persona, in that I can put it in just about any shaver and it'll work just fine. And excuse me, it's just one of those blades for me. Another one from Treet is called Treet, and that one there is another one. When I first got a hold of those blades, really surprised on how well the shave was with one of those blades. Now the Black Beauties, though, on the other hand, those have been more along the lines of hit miss in the shavers. Some shavers, the shave wasn't so smooth, and others, it was just fine. It was great. Performed like I would expected it to. But like I said, in other shavers, that Black Beauty was not so smooth. It was pretty rough. And maybe it's because I didn't notice the edge on the blade. Maybe I did get a hold of a blade that wasn't quite up to snuff, and I just didn't see it in time. Didn't even notice it. For some reason, this one here, it just, you know, you open it up and it was just kind of glaring there at me that something wasn't quite right about that blade. I had a great shave. My face feels really good. For a $3 soap nowadays, this is definitely worth I would say definitely at least a try. I almost say a buy. I know some folks will probably take offense to some of the ingredients in here, and you know, I understand, but when you're looking at just trying to get your shave on and keep it on an inexpensive level, this in here would be definitely worth a try. Hey, I get a great shave with it. Hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe and smooth shaves to you.